This is from The Athletic and Pierre LeBrun as of about 8 minutes or so ago. The situation with Rasmus Andersson has some layers to it, to be sure. The 28-year-old right shot top four Flames defenseman doesn't have a no-trade clause. He has a modified one, but the 2026 unrestricted free agent's ultimate hammer is that he controls which team he'd be interested in extending with as part of a sign-and-trade scenario. And as of Monday, that's today, the team that tops his list, league sources told The Athletic, is the Vegas Golden Knights, which is why Vegas and Calgary have had numerous discussions over the past week, but still no trade has been made, as the Flames clearly haven't been excited yet with what the Golden Knights have put on the table. It makes sense the Flames believe they should get more in a trade if Andersson is signed to an extension as part of it. He has one more year on his deal. But Andersson appears to be a little picky in where he would sign, which is obviously his right, as he would be foregoing a chance at unrestricted free agency 12 months from now. Right now, it sounds like it's pretty much Vegas for him. This is Pierre. My understanding is that the Ottawa Senators, Columbus Blue Jackets, and LA Kings were among teams with trade interest, but Andersson wasn't ready to talk extension with those teams, so a trade didn't materialize. It's not that he must be extended to be dealt, but if he isn't, his value will be diminished to some degree. There remains a chance Flames GM Craig Conroy simply keeps Andersson and has him start in Calgary and focuses on the trade deadline in March. Having said that, the Flames are hoping to reel in a top four D-man in free agency as early as Tuesday when the market opens, and if they're able to pull that off, they might circle back to Vegas in trade talks regarding Andersson. Biggest moving part is if Andersson agrees to an extension in the coming days, it's probably with Vegas. Of note, again, this Pierre, my understanding is that Nick Hague was part of the earlier trade discussions between Vegas and Calgary, but he's since been dealt. So if they find that trade talks, dealt and extended, they'll have to find another path to a deal. So there you go. Vegas, eh?
Yeah, and to be fair,
is it closer to Sweden? How much?
No, look, taxes are better than LA. I know that.
It's true, yeah.
But look, we don't know exactly what these guys' top priorities are, but there's pros and cons of every market. There's a lot of pros in Vegas right now. The team's good. He knows teammates there. It's a tax-free state. You're going to a team that's a contender.
Yeah. And you know what else?
Weather's good.
It'd be one of those things, if it's a weekend in June and I'm having a conversation with Craig, it's like, hey, yeah, things are good. Yeah. If it gets, if we get there, there's some places that we talk sign and trade might be better for us. If you ask me, I mean, I'd probably sign in Vegas, probably.
Yeah.
Florida, life's good there. Tampa, yeah, there's price.
Yeah.
How far down that road you get. The LA one is interesting because it sounds like they were well down that road, and Andersson said no.
Yeah.
And okay, you're not going to Columbus, you're not going to Ottawa.
Here's the challenge with this. Rasmus Andersson's going to have one chance for a free agent payday in his entire career. Stop swinging your chair, Jack. We can hear that. It's after next year. And so for a guy that worked his way up through the system, took a longer term, not a bridge, but like a long-term deal out of entry level, most of those years were below market, and now is an opportunity to lock up a max term deal. Like, this is it. He's not getting another deal if he gets a max term here. That's right to the end of his career. He might be done before the end of that contract. And so when we said you've got 2 playoff runs with Rasmus, you could trade him this winter and do well. Now you're understanding why you probably would have done quite a bit better. But that said,
we don't know, right?
Of course we don't know. But what we do know is that he was always a below market guy, and 2 playoff runs are more valuable than 1. And now you're starting to get close to the end of the deal, and people are like, well, what about extending him? That's not a conversation when you're trading with someone with 2 years left. You can't even talk about the extension. Right. He's not eligible to sign an extension until tomorrow.
And not everything.
And look, it doesn't mean this trio is going to go well or not, but one of the trades I liked the least Craig Conroy did was his the Vegas one. Now we need to see where that unprotected first rounder is, but you had to wait like 3 years to get it.
I was going to say that when we were talking about Marner and all of that is very much in the background. Flames can kind of be monitoring this because how Vegas does this season is of interest because the Flames have their unprotected first
round. And Petrangelo's just been ruled up for the whole year, which you're like, oh, that might hurt them on the edge. Like, well, actually, it just opens more cap space for them.
And trading Andersson, probably going to make that pick. Yeah,
unless he plays on a broken foot all year. Yeah, broken leg.
So there's that.
And look, you're going to get a good return for a rental of Rasmus if he's having a good year. Guys like him got a lot at this year's deadline. Sadly, a lot more than the year before when they were selling a Hanifin and a Tanev and a Lindholm. But all we've heard over the last month is that almost every team in this league's trying to get better, and not many teams are looking to shed players that are good, only contracts that are onerous. So if you were going to be one of the few sellers, you would have very little supply in the market. No one wants to sell, and a lot of people trying to buy from you. That's what should lead to a high price. But maybe it's Craig's the new GM. Screw him. Yeah. Turn the screws.
And I wonder, you would think this would seem to make sense. Well, if you don't get in on, if you had Ekblad or Provorov or Brent Burns on your wish list and you don't get him tomorrow, do you then circle back? I don't know.
Well, you probably earmarked some big dollars for a right shot defenseman if it's Ekblad. So I think whoever doesn't get Ekblad absolutely is calling Calgary.
The thing about that is they weren't going to have to part with anything to get him.
Right, but you're also saving half the cap space.
Well, I understand.
Ekblad on the market's going to get north of 9, I'm guessing. Yeah. You're talking about half that for Rasmus, 4.55.
Yeah. But if all of a sudden...
You're right. Now you got to come up with a pile of assets.
Sign Ekblad. We can get this guy, but it's going to cost us a first. And what do they want in Calgary for that? Well, I'm not paying that.
First player prospect plus.
Yeah. That'd be the other thing. If you're really going to swallow hard and make that deal, if you're another team, let's get into the season and see how we do. Let's see where we're at in November. If we're in a playoff spot, so-and-so's coming off of surgery, and is our young kid's going to develop, and can he bounce back? We'll see where we're at. And, geez, Craig, it's November. You know what? Call me in, actually, I'm going to be, call me in January, second week of January. I'll really know we've played that game. I'll know what we are in January.
Right. At all.
When's the trade deadline? Good God.
And look, I think teams are going to be very aggressive. We're going to see some big numbers tomorrow. Maybe in season, you can take on an onerous contract, use some of that cap space you didn't last year, and add that to juice a deal, or eat half the money. Like maybe it's a sign and trade if it's a place that Rasmus likes. But again, it felt so obvious that team last year, you can chalk everything up you want to culture, and that's great. But if Rasmus comes in to that locker room in the fall, you're telling me everything just picks up where it was?
Yeah.
That's a distraction you don't need.
Yeah. It can't.
And maybe you have to because that's where you think your return's going to get good. But, I mean, there's no hollower victories than talking about the culture on a team that missed the playoffs, because probably means your skill level's not that close.
Yeah.
You had to overcome that. And it just doesn't go year over year, we tend to see, because players change and, goaltenders that were hot aren't hot, or you don't get 15 comebacks in a season.
Hey, buddies, thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Also, if you could throw in a like and subscribe, it does help us out with what it is we are doing. And check out more at flamesnation.ca.